Hello and welcome to the Movie Mouth Film and TV podcast. On this episode, we have a diverse mix of reviews, including Oscar-troubling Sound of Metal, mind-troubling Chaos Walking, and an unhealthy dose of Psychiatrist troubling in our Video Store Corner section, where we rent a retro movie, and this week we ask ourselves that life-searching question: what about Bob? On top of it all, every week we discuss the latest film news, trailer breakdowns, and answer some of our listener questions. More of that later in this very episode. This is Miles, and as ever, I'm joined by a man who famously once said, "Voila! In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran, cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. This visage, no mere veneer of vanity, is a vestige of the vox populi now vacant vanished. However, this valorous visitation of a bygone vexation stands vivified and has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin, vanguarding vice and vouchsafing the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. The only verdict is vengeance, a vendetta held as a votive, not in vain, but for the value and veracity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant and the virtuitous. Verily, this vichyssoise of verbage veers most verbose. So let me simply add that it's my very good honour to meet you, and you may call him Phil."
Oh, wow. Hello.
And breathe.
Blimey.
P for
Now,
Vendetta.
Listeners, I will just say, Miles has done that in one take. I didn't know he was going to do that, and he did it in one take, which is amazing. Well done.
Can you just keep talking while I'm trying to recover?
Get your breath back.
I'm just gonna have a little sit down.
Wow. What was that from?
V for Vendetta.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was great. Well done.
I can't believe I haven't done that one sooner.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was quite weird when you did that. We were in that misty back alley of London. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, I do.
And I was just sitting there by that fountain, and you came out of nowhere in your weird Guy Fawkes mask and your brown wig with a fringe, with a really high fringe, by the way.
Fringe.
Really, really bad fringe.
Yeah.
And you just like had these like swords, and you were just like carving up posters like with the letter P for Phil. P for Phil. That's the name of your.
The weekend.
That's going to be the name of the documentary of your life.
P for Phil.
And I'm going to make it.
I hope so.
How are you, Phil?
I'm great. To quote a film which will be featuring later on, I feel good. I feel great. I feel wonderful.
Are you taking those baby steps?
Baby steps. Yeah. Baby steps.
Baby steps to the pub. Baby steps to the pub garden. And I heard that the pub gardens are open in England now.
Pub gardens are open. I'm yet to take advantage of this, but that will soon be rectified.
What are you doing? What are you playing at?
I don't know.
I've seen like Instagram that most of the UK appears to be in a pub garden as we speak.
Yeah.
And it's Friday, so...
Yeah. Well, I'm sitting here doing this with you, aren't I?
You poor bastard. Oh, sorry, I was just swinging a beer here in the pub garden. Oh, that's
I am
good.
having a beer, though, so that's all right.
Oh, well done. I'm drinking an electrolyte solution.
Take
Take from that what you will.
I mean, is that safe?
It could be.
It doesn't sound safe.
It could be because I'm extremely hungover. It could be because I have explosive diarrhea, or both.
And it is earlier in the day where you are than where I am.
It is very early in the day. It is early in the day. That's correct. Well, that's good, Phil. I'm glad that you're well. We'll move on. Let's not talk about me.
No, I don't want to ask me.
What have you been watching this week?
What have I been? So, after last week, you spoke about Formula One Drive to Survive. Stupidly named Formula One Drive to Survive.
They don't need to drive in order to survive.
No, they don't. But I am on series 2 of the 3 so far of that, and really, really, really enjoying it.
It's great.
As I said, I meant to watch it before, but after you spoke about it, I completely sort of forgot about it. Saw it advertised that it was in the season 3 had come out. I thought, oh yeah, I'll get around to watching that, but then you sort of spurred me on when you mentioned it. You gave it a mention last week, and so I'm watching that, loving it, getting a nice.
Okay, Phil, I'm going to have to ask you to box on that comment. Okay.
Okay.
Can you copy?
Copy.
And that's some Formula One inside talk right there between Phil and myself.
Yeah. What else have I been watching? I've been watching. I'm on the last episode of Your Honor. which we've also talked about in the last couple of episodes. The new Bryan Cranston show.
How do you think it's going to end?
Oh, well, I don't know. I've sort of got an idea, but I thought this was going to be like a 1-season thing, and it seems like it felt like when it was advertised, it sort of felt like it was like a, open and shut thing. But I'm assuming it's not going to be. So
that's an interesting takeaway. We'll have to find out on the next episode if you were right or not.
But I think you were completely right in what you said about it, and that was that there really isn't a single likable character in the entire show.
You mean I was actually right about something when we discussed it on our movie and TV podcast, the 7th most popular movie and TV podcast in Spain?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I don't fuck around, Phil, when it comes to this stuff.
Obviously not. You know your beans.
I know my unlikable characters. It takes one to know one.
So yeah, that's apart from the stuff that we've watched for the podcast, I haven't managed to watch anything else.
There's been a lot of good stuff coming out though, hasn't there? I finished Formula One Drive to Survive, which I absolutely loved. Every season's brilliant. It comes right up to the COVID era, which is really interesting. Although, we're kind of a bit done with hearing about it all. But it's still good to see how they adapted this huge juggernaut of a traveling quote unquote circus. Yeah. I've also been continuing Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the MCU show that's on Disney Plus. I mean, we're not going to review it. I'm going to give a mini review on right now. It starts really well. The characters are given a little bit more backstory. The Falcon in particular is given kind of an extended family and this kind of thing. Winter Soldier, starts to kind of deal with his past and traumas and that kind of thing. And that's also quite cool. But weirdly, they set up the second episode as kind of buddy cop kind of show where they're kind of back and forth, and it's really Lethal Weapon or 48 Hours. It's right. Their chemistry is brilliant. But then they kind of throw a bit of a curveball by introducing, a character, and this isn't a spoiler. I mean, it's in, all of the IMDb, it's everywhere. But Baron Zemo that was in Captain America: Civil War returns, and he becomes kind of the third part of the group, and weirdly becomes a kind of anti-hero. And it's almost kind of played for laughs, and the performance isn't great. He's getting a lot of love on social media, in particular in memes. But I don't know. It kind of lost me a little bit because I was really enjoying the chemistry between the two of them. And I think these are two characters that needed more exposure, not to be diluted by another character that has more charisma or, So it's kind of a shame to see that. And it's definitely not as captivating as the other MCU output that we saw with WandaVision, which was really unique and fucked up and weird. And interesting, and really did more for those characters involved. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. There's only 6 episodes. I think we've only got a couple left to watch, and we'll maybe have a bit more of a kind of detailed discussion on that. But yeah, that was really my kind of main focus for this week, was getting through that. And then, as you say, we've had a lot to review. So without further ado, let's jump into the news. And Phil, get your fedora and your whip ready, because I understand you have some Indiana Jones news for us.
I do. This was the news. I think it was announced yesterday, potentially. I think it was really recently. That Mads Mikkelsen, everyone's favorite cannibal, is
Hannibal himself,
has been cast in a mystery role in the upcoming Indiana Jones 5.
He's going to be Le Chiffre from Casino Royale turning up. Do you reckon he's going to get he's going to make Indiana Jones sit on a chair without a seat on it and just smack his balls with a mace?
Smack his bottom.
Yeah.
Smack his balls,
wasn't it? It was his balls he was smacking.
I think it was, yeah.
Poor old Daniel Craig.
Poor old Daniel
So
Craig.
he's done it to Bond. Now he's going to do it to Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Yeah. Oh, he wouldn't like that.
Dr. Jones. I see your balls are ready to be smacked.
Not the balls.
Get off my balls.
Maybe he'll like whip him with a snake. It'd be the ultimate insult to Indiana Jones.
Maybe.
whipping
Yeah,
his
it will
balls
be.
with a
I
snake.
hate snakes.
And he hates getting his balls slapped. Anyway,
So Mads Mikkelsen then.
yeah. So Mads Mikkelsen. So, yeah, the fifth film was announced in 2016, way back in 2016, but
Fifth
it's had
film?
loads of setbacks.
Fifth film.
There
was no fourth Indiana Jones film.
Oh, you're one of them. Oh, you're one of them.
I'm being facetious. Jonesy, Jonesy, we gotta go and find a crystal skull. We gotta go and find that. Jonesy, we gotta go and find that crystal skull. Get him a cranberry juice. That was my Ray Winston impression for both The Departed and an alleged Indiana Jones sequel that, in my mind, never happened.
That's Ray Winston in everything, isn't it? Even in the Volkswagen Caddy advert. A Volkswagen Caddy.
Volkswagen Caddy. What's the matter? Got your period? Driving a Volkswagen? Yeah.
Buy a Volkswagen Caddy.
Big fucking Volkswagen come rolling down the hill. I was just sitting there by the pool.
Jonesy.
Missed me by an inch. That was a Sexy Beast reference.
I know you don't like that. I know you don't like that film. It's watchable for me. But
it had Shia LaBeouf swinging through the trees with monkeys on vines.
I know. We've talked about this before. There were some enjoyable moments, but it wasn't great. But anyway, so yeah, this one is announced in 2016. Lots of setbacks, but I think it seems to be getting off the ground now. It's meant to start production this summer. And the director is James Mangold, who's taken over from Steven Spielberg, but I think Spielberg's still on as a producer. And it's set for release in July 2022.
2022. I think this sounds interesting. I do like James Mangold. I'm a fan of his. I think he has a very direct style. I think that his movies are very direct. Like there's no messing about. He's a very clean, concise director. The Wolverine, and Logan. Yeah, was great. And most recently Ford versus Ferrari. What is interesting about this as well? John Williams is coming back to score it. Which is good because he's super old now, and it's great to see him.
He's getting on, isn't he? He's getting on.
Yeah. Great to see him coming back for this. And also Phoebe Waller-Bridge from Fleabag is going to be in it.
Yeah. She's the female lead, right?
And she's fucking fantastic, dude. She's great. Like smart, a great writer, genius, and also a really good actor. But I don't know if she's going to look at the camera and when Indiana Jones drops one of his one-liners, "Oh, I hate snakes," she's just going to look at the camera and go, "Classic." That'd be weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be odd. But Mads Mikkelsen, though, big fan of Mads Mikkelsen.
Me too. And we'll talk about him later in the show.
Okay.
What else you got for us?
Oh, yes. So the other story is that Pete Davidson is to star as Joey Ramone in an upcoming biopic.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So he's set to play the punk rock legend in a new Netflix biopic called I Slept with Joey Ramone.
It's going to be on Netflix. That's cool. So does that mean that all the kids that wear Ramones t-shirts that they bought from H&M are now finally going to know actually who the Ramones are?
Validated.
They'll be like, "Oh, wait, this is the band that I've been wearing on my t-shirt? I'm not
I just got this from H&M.
Yeah.
That's all they got. Yeah.
I want to be sedated.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Just cast me. Just cast me.
You could have done it. So he's fresh off. He did. I know I didn't actually see it, but I know you did. We reviewed it, but Pete Davidson did The King of Staten Island. Did a really good job in that, didn't he?
That was a Judd Apatow movie that came out last year.
Yeah,
and I absolutely loved it. I thought I've never been a fan of his. I've not really adapted to his SNL skits. I've not really got on with a lot of his kind of comedy and his kind of general persona.
Yeah.
But I've come around to him, and that performance was really, really good, really touching. And he's got a kind of knowing smile. He's got that kind of Seinfeld thing where he's always kind of smiling when he delivers lines. Chris Tucker does the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you kind of
Yeah.
know that he's going to be, kind of making a joke soon. He's kind of lining it up.
You can see it coming.
Looking forward to seeing him in this, and he's in the Suicide Squad as well that we talked about last episode.
Yeah, he plays.
So he's making a bit of a name for himself. Yeah,
in the Suicide Squad. Yeah. So yeah, it could be an interesting one. I mean, I liked the Motley Crue biopic that Netflix did as well.
You did, didn't you?
That was good fun. I did. It was fun. It was fun. Mostly because I like Motley Crue's music, but maybe not them as people so much.
It was pretty crazy though. I mean, like their life. It was based on The Dirt, wasn't it? The biography, the autobiography.
Yeah, much like this is based on. I think the book might be from. Now, I might get this wrong, but I think the book's written by Joey Ramone's like brother-in-law or something.
Okay.
Yeah, or brother. I can't remember, but yeah, it's So it looks interesting anyway. It could be. I'll definitely be up for watching that one.
It does sound good.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Long overdue, I think, as well.
Yeah,
great. Yeah. I'm coming in off the back of some extreme sci-fi news, which is crazy because, of course, I actually watched a sci-fi movie as well this week for the episode that we're going to review later.
You did.
So I'm kind of in this sci-fi mode at the moment. The first one is fairly high level, but Mike Flanagan, who wrote The Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor, and also the sequel to The Shining, Doctor Sleep, which I really liked, if you recall.
Yeah.
He's actually just stepped on board a new Warner and a Universal project, which is called the Season of Passage, and this is based on a book by Christopher Pike. So he's adapting the novel, and he's adapting it alongside his brother James, that's also worked with him on a lot of script duties for a lot of his projects. This talks about a doctor, female doctor, who became a global celebrity for her involvement in a crewed expedition to Mars. And the whole world kind of admires and respects her, but she starts to get these kind of fears that eat away from her, and his voices that demanding that she love them, and then talks about kind of the crew that preceded her mission who died, or did they? It's like this whole psychological, kind of horror, probably in line with a lot of things that we've seen, through the years. But anything that Mike Flanagan's attached to, I mean, I don't really get scared by a lot of movies, like your typical horror movies. But Mike Flanagan has this sense of dread and unnervingness in a lot of his projects. So I'm really looking forward to that. The other one is really interesting. I think you'll be interested about this. Is that Adam Sandler is going to star opposite Carey Mulligan in a movie called Spaceman. And this comes from director Joanne Renck, who directed the Chernobyl series, which was on HBO, which was brilliant. Yeah. This is again based on a novel, and the story follows an astronaut, here played by Adam Sandler, sent to the edge of the galaxy to collect mysterious ancient dust, and he soon finds his earthly life falling to pieces, and he turns to the only voice who can help him try to put that back together. It just so happens to belong to a creature from the beginning of time lurking in the shadows of the ship.
Okay.
So the only voice who can help him. Carey Mulligan's going to be Adam Sandler's wife, back at home on Earth. So I imagine this is going to be more of a kind of solo movie for Adam Sandler, right, which I think is good because we saw him front and center in the Safdie Brothers Uncut Gems, which was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And he also mines similar depth in a lot of kind of dramatic roles that he doesn't really stretch out into. One of those being Paul Thomas Anderson's Punch Drunk Love, which I quote unquote loved. And I just think that Adam Sandler isn't in enough of these dramatic roles. Interestingly, and this is more a personal thing between you and I, he was in a movie with Don Cheadle years ago, another serious movie that could have been another kind of Oscar contender, but it didn't really get picked up, called Reign Over Me, about 9/11 survivors and PTSD. And he's addicted to the video game Shadow of the Colossus in that movie.
Oh, really?
And it's all he talks about in the movie. Yeah.
Wow.
It's really weird. It's really weird.
That's awesome.
The reason I tell that story is because that's actually how Phil and I originally bonded. We met. We're talking about this specific game, nerding out over it. Literally the first conversation we ever had. So
that's right.
Yeah. So always good to see Adam Sandler stepping into more dramatic roles. So looking forward to the season of Passage from Mike Flanagan and Spaceman. Sci-fi.
That sounds
up
awesome.
the wazoo.
Just a link there, actually, because you mentioned Chernobyl. It was very sad to hear the death of Paul Ritter last week, who was obviously very highly regarded for his performance in Chernobyl, as well as, a lot on the English comedy scene with, Friday Night Dinner and lots of other bits and pieces. But yeah, it was really, really sad to see that he'd passed away from a brain tumor last week. He'd done lots of stuff because he'd done Quantum of Solace and he'd done some Harry Potter and lots of bits, but I thought he was really, really funny and a really versatile actor. So yeah, it was a shame to hear that, especially at such a young age as well.
Very, very sad.
I think he was only 54. So yeah,
very
terrible.
Sad.
But yeah,
really great in Chernobyl, I have to say as well.
Really good. Yeah,
kind of the bastard of it, wasn't he? He was, but
he was.
He played the kind of, quote unquote, the villain of the piece.
Yeah,
but I thought it came across really well. That Dyatlov, wasn't it? Dyatlov.
Yeah, that's right. Dyatlov. Yeah,
somewhat responsible for the meltdown, but obviously there were a lot of other factors. But his role in that was brilliant, really good, really strong. And it was great to see a lot of social outpouring for that as well. He, it seemed like his roles, Friday Night Dinner in particular, seemed to be very, very popular with a lot of the younger audience. And I saw a lot of posts on Instagram from a lot of younger people, that were very sad to see that. So yeah, nice one, Phil. Good shout out. So in happier news, moving on to trailers. You had a bit of a trailer meltdown this week, didn't you? Do you want to get us started with The Dry?
Yeah, I've got two very contrasting trailers to go through. So yeah, The Dry. So this is starring Eric Bana. And I was
Eric Bana?
Eric Bana. I was just thinking the other day, what the hell happened to Eric Bana?
I don't know. I was thinking that the other day as well.
Yeah, it's just, you just don't see him in anything.
Yeah. I had that exact conversation about 3 days ago with a friend of mine who was next door.
Yeah. Weird, isn't it? Because you thought when Hulk came out, which was absolutely dire, you did think he was going to be sort of the next big thing.
Yeah.
His lead role, and it probably didn't help him that he was in that absolute pile of tosh.
Doo-doo.
Doo-doo, steaming Hulk green doo-doo. But yeah, so he is in this, and this is out on May the 21st. So he plays a federal agent, and he returns to his hometown in Australia after an absence of over 20 years to attend the funeral of his childhood friend, Luke, who allegedly killed his wife and child before taking his own life. Which sounds sounds like a right old fun time, doesn't it? And apparently he did this because he was like a victim of madness that had ravaged the community after a decade of drought. Hence, I guess the title, The Dry. So when he looks like he's going to investigate the crime, but it ruffles a lot of feathers. In the trailer, you see a lot of hostility towards him. And it sort of brings up a previous case, which he was like part of when he was young, the death of a 17-year-old girl that he was with at the time. And, they could be linked and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, there's a lot going on in the trailer. It looks pretty tense. Looks like it's got some really nicely shot stuff. And as I said, good to see Eric Bana back in a lead role, I think, because I think he's really good. So yeah, that's The Dry.
It's an interesting role for a former stand-up comedian.
Is that what did he used to do?
Comedy? It wasn't until Chopper. If you ever see Chopper, that he really made the name for himself. He got picked for that role pretty much at random. And since then, he's been more of a dramatic actor. You haven't really seen him in a lot of comedies other than rom-coms and Funny People, the Judd Apatow movie, where he wasn't particularly funny. But, great. I think he's a great actor. I think he's massively underused. Munich, one of my favorite Steven Spielberg films. I think he was fantastic in that. Yeah. And we haven't seen enough of him. So Nice one, Phil. That sounds like a great movie.
Yeah. And then the other one on the complete other end of the spectrum is the follow-up to 2017's The Hitman's Bodyguard. And this is going to be The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard.
Oh, good Lord.
So I don't think either of us have seen The Hitman's Bodyguard, have we?
Right, we're talking about the Ryan Reynolds, Sam Jackson.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Directed by Patrick Hughes, who also directed Expendables 3. So he's that kind of...
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? But check the cast out for this, right? And this is like got that sort of Expendables 3 cast vibe, yeah?
Okay, I'm strapping
in. You've got Ryan Reynolds, of course, Samuel L. Jones returning.
Samuel L. Jones.
Hayek. Did I say Samuel L. Jones?
Yeah. Samuel L. Jones. You know, he lives up by Cardiff. He'll tell you, Samuel L. Jones, he'll tell you, see those two houses? Mine's the one in the middle.
Samuel L. Jackson. Wow, Samuel L. Jones. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, Salma Hayek, Frank Grillo, our new favorite action star.
Nice.
Antonio Banderas, Morgan Freeman,
Buzz.
and Richard E. Grant.
In Buzz. Bloody hell. Morgan Freeman and Richard E. Grant. What the hell's going on? This is insane.
Yeah, it looks mental.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is, again, I've not seen the original, and now I'm going to go and watch it after seeing this trailer. So, as a little synopsis, it says the world's most lethal odd couple, bodyguard Michael Bruce and hitman Darius Kincaid. So that's, Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. Are back on another life-threatening mission.
But of course they are.
Yeah, of course they are. Bryce is forced into action by Darius's even more volatile wife, Salma Hayek.
Mm-hmm. I can believe that.
And
Satanico pandemonium.
Oh, yeah. Dusk Till Dawn.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so it just looks, to be honest, it just looks a bit mental. There's a lot going on in the trailer. Lots of explosions, lots of fights, lots of people shooting each other. And so a really odd action sequence where, have you seen those things that are in the water? They're like
fish.
You strap jets on your back. Not fish. You fucker. You know when you strap the jets on your back and you fly out of the water on like this big cable, right? Yeah. There's like an action scene where like loads of guys like pop out the water on those and shoot people. It's mental.
Sold on the water jet packs.
Yeah.
Popping out of the water, shooting people. Sold.
Yeah. So
hopefully Richard E. Grant is one of those. And hopefully Morgan Freeman's one of those. I want to see Morgan Freeman popping out of the water in a jet pack and shooting people. I remember the first time I popped out of the water in a jet pack.
Oh God, yeah, I would definitely want to see that. So yeah, that looks mental, and that's out on June 16th.
Wunderbar.
Yeah,
wonderful. Well, do you know what? I'm going to keep you talking, Phil, because it's time for the review section.
Oh,
and first up, we have a film that has been on our radar for a few months here in the US. It was released around Christmas time. However, it made its UK debut just this very week. And based on the critical claim of both its director and leading star gathering pace around the awards circuit, we thought it was time to watch and review Sound of Metal. Phil, what did you make of this one?
Yes. So, Sound of Metal. Directed in his feature directing debut by Darius Marder. This tells the story of Ruben, played by Riz Ahmed. And he is a drummer in a heavy metal, like two-piece band, alongside his girlfriend, Lou, played by Olivia Cook, who you may know from Ready Player One, among lots of other things. She plays Artemis in Ready Player One, I guess most famously, or biggest role, I guess. And Ruben has a history of drug use, and he's managed to overcome his demons for the last few years. And the couple are, enjoying life. They're on the road, playing with their band. They're touring the country in their camper van, playing their music. But it soon takes a drastic turn as Ruben begins to lose his hearing one night before a show. So the film then sort of completely flips on its head and takes a direction, that turns into a very personal and difficult story following Ruben as he takes, a huge journey into living with hearing loss. It's permanent hearing damage that he's done, and it's really bad. He goes down to, I think they say, about like 20% hearing, and he goes from doing and being able to do something he really loves in music, and to having to deal with not being able to hear and everything that goes along with that. So he seeks help from others in a similar situation, where he meets Joe, played by the brilliant Paul Ratchie. And he is a deaf Vietnam veteran who runs a rural retreat for people who are also deaf, but also have had problems with addiction as well. So yeah, he goes to this sort of like camp where he stays, and he has to relearn a lot of things. He has to the things that we take for granted, because obviously he can still speak, having known, he hasn't been deaf from birth, so he knows what his voice sounds like and should sound like, and but he has to obviously learn sign language and to read lips and everything that goes along with hearing problems. So I mean, I'm not going to go into what happens next or how it ends, but I want to keep it spoiler free, as we do with reviews. But performance wise, Riz Ahmed is absolutely amazing in this. He goes from like jumpy, angry, scared, everything, like all the emotions. He has scenes where he absolutely freaks out, as you would in this situation, and he is brilliant. Apparently he relocated to New York for the role. He became fluent in American Sign Language.
Wow.
So he was able to communicate with like the deaf actors that are on set. He also learned the drums because obviously it's part of the role.
Very believably.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of drumming in it, but it's, believably from what you do see. So it explains why it feels really authentic. And that's another reason why he's been nominated for Best Actor for this film as well. So yeah, I think it really is one of the best performances I've seen in a while, like in any film. No one is bad in it. Olivia Cook is really strong. She does a really good job playing Lou, his girlfriend. And Paul Ratchie, who I mentioned before, he does a great job in this as well. So really powerful couple of scenes he has in it. And he's also been nominated for support best supporting actor in this as well.
Unsurprisingly.
Yeah, definitely. He's fantastic in it as well. But I think, one of the main stars of the show is the sound design. And obviously it's going to be important in a film like this because you're talking about hearing loss, but it's got like constant switching of audio where it goes to like Ruben's point of view, where he, his hearing ranges from like, just starts with like low rumbling, or there's white noise or stark silence. And then back to, obviously, when other people are speaking to him, it goes back to clear audio. And it's really, really effective. And it's, if I'm honest, it's uncomfortable to listen to at times as well. But that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the point of it. So I can see why, and again, another award nomination, the sound design team have been nominated for an Oscar for Best Sound Design as well. And I can absolutely see why, because it really draws you into it and gives you a sense of what it's like, I think for me, it hits home a little bit, this film, because as you know, I play guitar. I'm not a musician as a job, but I've played the guitar for years and played in bands for years since I was young. And I play in a band now, and I love music in general, like you do as well. And I think the thought of losing your hearing and not being able to do something that you love doing and hearing the music that you love listening to is it's a hard thought to swallow. I even had some temporary sort of hearing problems recently, just to do with stuff that needed clearing in my ears. Not to go into too much, but I had trouble hearing, and even for those those week or two where I had trouble, it was horrible. I hated it. So yeah, I think watching this film does make it, and I've also got like a bit of permanent tinnitus as well from just years of playing gigs and bits and pieces. So I think it sort of made me realize you really do have to look after your hearing. Obviously it's not caused by things sometimes, but yeah, it just made watching it even more uncomfortable for me because it sort of had a bearing. So let it be said, the film's bleak. It's never going to be a happy film. It's bleak and it's tough to experience, but it's so well done with such amazing performances. It's really, really worth a watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I said, I know you've watched it as well, didn't you? What did you think?
I really have nothing else to add. I think you absolutely nailed it. The Riz Ahmed performance was incredible. There's just some amazing scenes in this. The very opening shot, if you remember, of the camera kind of slowly panning and zooming into Riz Ahmed as he's sitting on a drum kit at the start of a show or the start of a song, reminded me a lot of Raging Bull, Scorsese with De Niro, kind of those kind of in-ring fight shots. That was interesting. I also thought that the movie itself was going to be more about him dealing with that while he was trying to play. But actually, what you see in the trailer is kind of the first 10 minutes of the movie, and it becomes this more expansive kind of quest for his hearing, and for his passions. And I really, identified with that in a lot of ways. And I also, there's one scene in particular that really I thought was incredible. This is how an actor's conveying an emotion without really doing very much. Doing a lot, but without looking like they're doing very much. Was the scene where they're in a kind of hearing school for the deaf, and there are a group of children around a piano, and they have their hands on this grand piano so they can feel the vibrations. And this pianist is playing like a beautiful melody, and Riz Ahmed is with them, and obviously these kids have been probably deaf from birth, so they're just enjoying feeling these vibrations. But on his face, you can see that he's looking at these kids thinking they're experiencing these vibrations, but they're missing out on these beautiful melodies and sounds, and this is what he's missing. This is he's aware of what music can be, or what sound is, and that was devastating. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with your review. Where can people watch this film?
So that is available to stream on Amazon Prime right now.
Beautiful. Highly recommended from both of us. So go and watch it, just maybe not on a Saturday night with a takeaway on your lap.
No, maybe not.
Or on a Friday morning. So in let's say less intelligent, deep, more commercial climes, I sat down to watch Chaos Walking. This is a long gestating sci-fi project from the director of Edge of Tomorrow, Doug Liman, starring the hot talent of right now, Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley of Spider-Man and Star Wars fame. So what could go wrong? Well, evidently, pretty much everything.
Oh, dear.
First, the plot. So this is based on the young adult novels around the production by Jared Hess. It sees Prenticetown, a colony of New World, which is a new planet that resembles Earth, in the 23rd century. We see Todd, played by Tom Holland, who's been brought up to believe that a domestic alien race that shares the planet have slaughtered all the women and unleashed the noise, a supernatural phenomenon enabling the internal thoughts of all men to be heard and visualized. So after discovering a girl named Viola, his surrogate parents immediately tell him that he has to run away, leaving him with only a map of New World and many unanswered questions. So the cast, I mean, an incredible, depth. Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley would, sell out. You would imagine sell out movie theaters, just with their name attached to something. Supporting casts: Mads Mikkelsen, our old friend, Mr. Lashif, on similar kind of ball-busting villain duties in this movie as the ominous Mayor Prentice. Demian Bashir as Holland's father, and a really underused and one-note David Oyelowo, who has been fantastic in a lot of dramas. Selma, in particular, about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which was an amazing role. Here, he's a radical preacher in a kind of Yul Brynner in the original Westworld movie, type Terminator-like character. Right. But this is more of a testament to bad writing than bad performances, I want to say. I just want to go on record to say that. So I'll talk more about the noise, and it's interesting that we talk about the perfect example of sound design and how sound can be utilized almost as a character to convey an emotion and a feeling. The success of this movie really, I think, rested on pulling off the noise, which I'll explain in a moment. Basically, the characters are on this planet of New World, and you see these weird kind of thought bubbles around their head, and you can see things that they're thinking of. So if I'm thinking of my dog, then I would see my dog running around. Or if I'm thinking, wow, I really need to go to the toilet right now, then I'm like, oh, I need to go to the toilet. Don't think of waterfalls. Don't think of waterfalls. It's that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Really kind of dumb. Okay. So as an overthinker, this was really stressful for me because I overthink everything. Like I'm watching a movie and I'm thinking about 50 other things at once. And I'm watching this and you've got characters speaking while other characters are thinking, or you've got a character saying something and thinking something else. So Daisy Ridley will ask Tom Holland, oh, do you know where we're going? And he'll be like, yeah, of course I know. And then he'll be like, do I? Maybe I don't. Yeah, I definitely do. Do I? I don't know. It's like so stressful. It's so stressful.
Do you hear it audibly?
You hear it audibly. Yeah.
What
So he'll
says,
be like, he'll be talking. She'll say, do you know where we're going? And he, with his mouth, will say, yes, absolutely. I know where we're going. Follow me. And then with his mouth closed, it will be like, but do I know where I'm going? Maybe I don't. Maybe I do. And she'll be like, do you know where we're going? And he's like, I know exactly where we're going. I haven't got a fucking clue where we're going. Yeah. By the way, she's really hot and I'm really sexually attracted. It's like all these like weird like little things that just like segue in and like thoughts. Like and it doesn't really represent the way a human kind of thought process works. It's more like immediate thought, It's like when they try to not show their thoughts, they have this they try to control their thoughts so that they're generically not thinking about something. And someone's lying, for example, like they'll be like saying their name, my name is whatever his name, Todd. I'm Todd. Maybe just be saying it over and over. So it's just really, I don't know, stressful. Like it's just stressful. And the sound design as well, really, really muddied. At one point I toyed with putting on the closed captions because I was just lost in who was actually saying something, who was just thinking it, and whether I could actually fully hear what they were thinking. It was really weird. So I think this is something they had to get perfectly executed in order for the concept to work. And I think they mainly did that in the visual representation. Like there's a moment where he like scares someone by thinking of a snake, and the snake kind of comes out of his head and goes, right. But at the same time, it's kind of stupid. So you have to nail it, Call outs, there were some also really graphic scenes of animal cruelty, really unnecessarily so, which I got to say left me really fucking angry. Like watching a movie where you see like horses breaking their legs and falling off cliffs and being put out of their misery or drowning is bad enough. Seeing a dog get drowned by a human character was fucking awful and just inexcusable for me. It left me feeling so fucking angry that not only could like a director or a writer, but the entire production could build something around that, and have that involved in a scene. It just, I know there's reality. There are, movies that tell a story around animal cruelty and that kind of thing, or cruelty to people. And people have to die for stakes, but I just hate seeing animals being used as like this whimsical motivation for villainy, And I'm not talking about The Man Punted Baxter. Like I'm not talking about Anchorman, where Jack Black drop kicks a clearly like stuffed Like, well, it doesn't even look like a dog. It looks like a monkey. It's got really long arms and legs, and he boots it off of a bridge.
It's clear that that's point.
It's clear that it's not, and
comedy.
It's played for laughs, but it's not. But at no point does it feel like it's graphic or an actual dog. That's part of the joke. This graphic, fucking horrible. And as soon as I saw that, and I think I'm with a lot of people here. You see that in a film, you're like, fuck this. I'm not watching this. This is horrible. You know?
Yeah.
So that really pissed me off, to be honest. In general, the film is really muddled. It feels like a failure, like that you're watching, live in the flesh. From the lo-fi budget, which essentially means that New World, which is a futuristic movie set in the 23rd century, is basically all in the countryside, and it's like the Wild West. People ride around on horses, so there's no need for like hover cars or any CGI.
Right.
They all live in like cabins and shacks. They all
like
talk like, "Howdy, y'all." It is basically like Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes crossed with Westworld.
I mean, there you go. End of review. But it's basically very much like that. And some background to this as well. This had extensive rewrites. It had extensive reshoots. There was an initial script from my personal favorite, Charlie Kaufman, who wrote Adaptation and Being John Malkovich and all these incredible movies. Yeah. However, only a few lines of his dialogue remain in the script, because you can imagine that would be really fucked up, but probably way more interesting than anything that you see here. 6 other writers were involved in shaping and rewriting the script. And following the initial shoot, there were extensive reshoots that cost Lionsgate, the studio, over $15 million to organize around 2 years after the initial shoot, which meant that Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland both aged in some roles. They looked slightly older in some scenes. And they also brought in Fede Alvarez to do that, who remade The Evil Dead. So Doug Liman had actually moved on to another project that he was tied into and was making another movie. So all of this isn't unheard in Hollywood. Like, movies are akin and usually will have extensive reshoots or rewrites of the script. And Lyman himself has been involved with projects that have actually borne success from this kind of tumultuous production. An example being Edge of Tomorrow, which is the perfect example. Chris McQuarrie was still writing the fucking script while they were shooting it in Leavesden in the UK. So, he has been involved in these kind of movies. That movie, interestingly, also got retitled from its very generic name, like Chaos Walking. We have Edge of Tomorrow. Also got retitled to Live, Die, Repeat after its cinema release.
Yeah, it's really odd. Release. I don't understand that. Why?
To be honest, I would have done the same with Chaos Walking, because generic alert. It hasn't done well. It's been released, obviously in theaters, and it hasn't done particularly well, as you can imagine. This was really ready to be released about 3 years ago, and has just been gestating since then. Generic in name, not necessarily in content, in concept or execution. Like the Justice League that we talked about on the last episode, it's another curio for the cinema fan. But for the casual audience, definitely a mixed and deeply unsatisfying one-note young adult adaptation that will leave you cold, which is a huge surprise given the talent of everyone involved. Lionsgate themselves were aware of this, leaving on the shelf for that period of time, releasing it in today's pandemic. Not to say the concept isn't interesting, perhaps the decision was a good one to keep it until a time where people could actually watch it at home. And sadly for me, that means that Chaos Walking is a miss.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. That's definitely a shame. Chaos. I didn't get around. I didn't have time to watch it in time for the podcast, but yeah, I remember we talked about the. I think I picked up on the trailer like months ago. It was a while ago, and I thought the idea was, although it sounds actually hellish in practice, I think it sounded like a cool sort of idea. But yeah, maybe it just works better in books.
And you know me, I love sci-fi, even if it's done fairly badly, even if people don't rate it, or if it's generic. Oblivion with Tom Cruise, I absolutely love that movie for some reason. Love it. Edge of Tomorrow, also with Tom Cruise, weirdly. Love that movie. This just doesn't work. It's sad. It's just, and it's not worth the watch. sadly. So which
I'll
is
probably still watch it.
I was just going to say, make up your own mind, take from that what you will, but there are a lot of factors in there that for me, really, really were disappointing. So,
oh well, it's a very positive review section we had this week.
Okay, so let's kick things up a notch in that case, Phil. What do you say?
I'd say that sounds like a fine plan.
It's time for this. Hello and welcome to Video Store Corner. Amongst these hallowed halls, we've seen some of cinema's wildest, wackiest, and most fun adventures on display. And this week, we have Phil coming in to pick a movie. He's walking around those hallowed aisles. He can smell the smell of warm electrical equipment and popcorn. Can't you, Phil?
CRT television over there.
He's right down the back. I say, if you could move a little bit closer to the cash desk.
Have you got any Bill Murray films?
Oh, Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
No, not interested.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Not
interested.
Kingpin?
No, not interested.
Oh, seen that too?
Yep.
Lost in Translation?
Not interested.
What about Bob?
Ooh. I like that. That was a good link. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. Have you? Had you seen it before?
No. Have I seen What About Bob before? Yes, I have seen it before, but not for a long time.
Same for me. Why don't we rent that and watch that? What do you say?
Sounds like a plan.
I don't know why I'm renting it as if I'm the store clerk, and then I'm going to come
you
around
finish
your house
work,
and watch
and then we're going to go back and watch it at your house.
All right. Should we go to the pub first?
All right.
So this is What About Bob? Phil, do you want to take us through the plot?
Okay. Yes. So this is 1991's Frank Oz directed What About Bob?
Mm-hmm.
Starring Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'll go into this in the thing. Don't worry. It's to be covered in what I'm about to say. So The plot is, before going on vacation, self-involved psychiatrist Dr. Leo Marvin, Richard Dreyfuss, has the misfortune of taking on a new patient, Bob Wiley, Bill Murray. An exemplar of neediness and a compendium of phobias, Bob follows Marvin to his family's country house. Dr. Marvin tries to get him to leave. The trouble is, everyone loves Bob. As his oblivious patient makes himself at home, Dr. Marvin loses his professional composure and before long may be ready for the loony bin himself.
This is something that I hadn't seen since myself and my brother, I believe, rented it in like 92 or whenever it came out eventually on video. Just for our listeners who are maybe younger than we are, movies used to take years to come out on video. Like they would be in the movie theater and it would be like 18 months you'd be waiting for them to come out on video cassette.
It was torturous. Absolutely torturous.
And then you would walk around the video store and you just see these random movies that you'd never even heard of. What About Bob was one of those. I don't remember it being in the theaters, I just remember it being available. And I remember loving this as a kid. I probably watched it 3 times because that's what you used to do. You used to rent a video and then you'd watch something 3 times, then you'd rewind it and take it back to the store, right? And I probably watched this a lot, but I haven't seen it since then.
Wow, that's a long time. I've definitely seen it in the last few years. I think the last time I saw it, I think it was on TV, but I caught like the last 30 minutes of it. Mm-hmm. And that was quite a few years ago.
What a 30 minutes that is.
I know. That's all you need.
The last 30 minutes of this film are fucking insane.
Really?
They are, aren't they? Considering it's about a psychotherapist. Yeah. But let's talk about the performances. So you've got Bill Murray there as Bob Wiley. It almost to me felt like setting the scene for Jack Nicholson's character in As Good as It Gets. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's also weird that to watch a movie that's kind of poking fun at mental health
Yeah, I thought that at the time. It's like, he's obviously got some problems.
But the thing is, the thing that I did like about that though is that they kind of trade it off as if he hasn't actually got any problems.
Yeah.
He's establishing problems so that he doesn't get them.
Yes.
So there's like that scene where he explains, his issues, his phobias and fears. He fears his heart's going to stop beating. So what does he do? He fakes heart attacks so that it means he's not actually having a heart attack.
Yeah.
He says, have you ever heard of Tourette's? He's like, of course I've heard of Tourette's. And he's like, well, I fucking blah 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 blah, pissant, blah 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 blah, and starts screaming his head off. But he's like, I don't actually have Tourette's, but as long as I'm pretending I'm having Tourette's, I don't actually have it,
got it.
and therefore I don't have to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
So I don't think he actually has. That's the thing. I don't think he actually has any issues, so to speak. I think that is an issue in itself, obviously, but I think it's more played for laughs in the fact that it's Bill Murray, who is, when he plays these kind of roles, he's this kind of opportunist that can put on a certain persona in order to get what he wants.
Don't you think it's the most Bill Murray role there could be?
I would say it is, apart from the fact that there's no leching over any female characters, which is very un-Bill Murray like. And it is also something that's starting to come to more of a fore in recent years. People are looking back at Venkman and that kind of thing as fairly toxic male roles, understandably. But luckily this one kind of survives. It doesn't go after the chauvinism, but it does go after the mental health crowd.
Fucking hell, put them under the bus. Oh god. I mean, there's a lot in this film that I really like though. Like it's got a good cast. Because you've got it's very 90s cast, isn't it? What 80s?
It's a very 90s cast.
Because you've got Julie Haggerty playing Faye Marvin, wife of Dr. Marvin. Yeah, like the most, and you'll know her most famously. So
mean to Bob.
You'll know her most famously as I can't remember her character name in Airplane. The Airplane. Softly, she's always really, really softly spoken, and she's exactly the same in this. It's like she left the.
I wish she was
industry.
my mum.
Yeah,
I wish she was my mum. I was watching this. I was like, I wish she was my mum, but she is also like. I mean, she's had a few knocks to the head or something in her life because she's also insane. Like she's repressed. Yes. She's a repressed character, isn't she?
Yeah, definitely. And you've also got I'm trying to think of his name. The kid from
Sigmund.
Hook.
Siggy.
Yeah, that's his character name. It's
Charlie Cosmo.
Charlie Cosmo. Is that his name? Wow, that's a good name. Who again? He's one of those like kids that was in stuff around that time, and then
Dick Tracy
never see again. Yeah, Dick Tracy, Hook, and what about Bob? I mean, that's a pretty good CV, even if you left it there.
Wow, what about Bob? He actually is a lawyer now. He quit acting. And
is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's a full-blown lawyer. I had this conversation. I thought it was on this podcast, but I went skiing a few weeks ago and we watched Hook at about 3 a.m. And we were like, what happened to that kid? And I looked him up, and he's actually a lawyer now. He completely quit acting.
Can you imagine if you had, if you had to go to court and you hired a lawyer, and
if you murdered a whole ton of people and then he turned up as your lawyer,
the kid from Hook turned up,
you'd be like,
represent you.
Am I insane? Maybe he'd teach you He'd teach you to go diving.
Like, are you the kid from Hook?
I have to say, I think I identified with him when I was a kid in this movie because I was quite macabre, and his kind of. When he comes out and Richard Dreyfuss wants to take him diving off of the jetty, like the pontoon, bamboo pontoon. Yeah, well, there's a recurring joke from our Mortal Kombat review. Get over here. And Dreyfuss, as the typical American father, tries to kind of teach his son to dive, and the kid won't have anything to do with it. And he comes out in a black robe with black t-shirt and black swimming shorts. Yeah, and I was like, love this. This was exactly me. So emo. And he's like sitting in the room with Bob, and he's like, Bob, you are going to die. And he's like this 11-year-old kid. Bob's like, what? He's like, you ever think about that? You're gonna die, Bob. He's like,
There's
am
nothing
I?
you
He's
can
like,
do about it.
there's nothing you can do about it, Bob. Like they're like laying there trying to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I was like, fucking hell. That was me when I was a kid, 100%. So like dark.
It's still funny though, because there's that bit which goes towards one of my favorite scenes where which we can talk about, I think, because as you said, his dad's trying to teach him to dive and he just doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to jump off the pontoon. And then Bob comes along, doesn't he, at the house, and who's just been sailing.
Yeah.
And by sailing we mean strapped to the front,
tied
of the
to a
ship.
mast. Yeah.
Yeah, tied to a
tied
mast.
to the mainsail.
Yeah, and sailed around the lake or whatever it is.
Yeah. I'm sailing. I'm sailing. Yeah.
And
ahoy!
Yeah, Bob
ahoy!
Bob comes along and inadvertently teaches him how to dive, and he does it, doesn't he? But before that, he's saying, like, he has a good line where he's like, "Oh, when my dad callously dropped me in the water, like my life flashed before my eyes." And Bob's like, "Well, it's lucky you're only 12." And he's like, "Yeah, but it was still really grim." Yeah, that's quite a good character.
I thought, speaking of Dreyfus, I thought that this, you see a lot of these kind of 80s, 90s, two-handers, Midnight Run is one of them.
Yeah.
With De Niro and Charles Grodin, where you have the kind of more uptight character and then you have the fun, outgoing, crazy character. And usually that uptight character will have some form of an arc of redemption, or merging their character to become more fun and learning a life lesson. Dreyfus in this is a bastard from start to finish.
Yeah, he's like never not a bastard.
Smug.
He hates
bastard.
him.
Egotistical,
admit, though,
vain.
I think if I was in his position, I would be like that.
Everybody would, but that's the funny thing, that everyone in this position would be like, get the fuck out. What are you doing in my house? Why have you followed my family? I think the first thing you do though, Phil, if I'm not wrong, is you'd call the fucking police, and you'd be like, this obsessive compulsive neurotic is stalking me and my family, calling me in the middle of the night, turning up at my house, pretending to commit suicide so he can get the address of where I'm staying on my vacation, and now he's sleeping in a bedroom with my son, my 12-year-old son.
I don't think you'd have it, would you? I
don't think you'd have any of it.
No.
But the kind of passiveness, the weakness, he shows a lot of weakness as a strong character. If you note, he gives in a lot to his family. He apologizes a lot, but then continues to kind of continue on that same path.
Yeah.
Until the point of, and obviously for those that have watched this movie, he starts out as this very self-assured, cocky kind of psychiatrist in New York, and by the end of it, he basically gets committed into an insane asylum and it becomes a mute and a dribbling wreck.
While Bob marries his
sister. And there's that brilliant line, if anyone here has anything to say, say it now or forever hold your peace. And he's like sitting in his wheelchair, just dribbling down his chin like, no.
Oh dear.
But I thought Dreyfus was actually really fucking good in this. And in particular, when he starts to lose his mind and decides that he's going to murder Bob. Yeah, that's where it goes to. I ain't going to shoot you, Bob. I'm just going to blow you up.
Yeah, I like the fact that he breaks into like the general store and looks at the guns and goes, "No, too messy." Like that. But then he decides to blow him up.
Yeah, he decides to actually march him into the middle of the woods. He ties Bill Murray up to a tree and then puts these two bags, kind of cooler bags, like picnic cooler bags, full of explosives with a timer around his neck, and just leaves him in the middle of the woods. He kind of walks off laughing.
He's like laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like proper crazy at that point.
It's going to be a show, Bob. It's absolutely fantastic, though, that scene. I really love that moment when he gets really unhinged, and the fact Bill Murray is just ignorant to it and just continues to love the doctor.
He loves him. He walks out the house with a birthday cake. Yeah.
Favorite scene? I think we might have the same.
There's a couple of scenes. Well, one of the ones that did really make me laugh just because it was ridiculous was, like I said earlier on, when Bob's taught the doctor's son to dive and he pushes Bob into the water and Bob's got like the life jacket on from doing the sailing earlier in the day, and it's just really made me laugh when he's in the water and he's trying to. They're all concerned about him and trying to get him out, but he's like lying on his back, like kicking with his legs, with his arms behind his head, and like to try and get back to the shore, but he's really freaking out, and he's like, "Am I gonna die? Am I gonna die?" And he paddles like not around the pontoon,
but
he
under
goes
it,
underneath it, and it just really made me laugh that he went underneath it. I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
There was there was a lot of those scenes of Murray just improvising. I think.
Yeah,
I loved as well. This isn't my favorite. I'll come on to that, but in the same view, the first scene when Dreyfus tells Murray to leave the family house and walk home to wherever it is he's staying, and he's walking home, and you see him walking along this kind of country road on his own, and he's like saying, "I'm taking baby steps. I'm walking alone. I'm fine. I'm completely alone. I'm just walking. I'm alone. I'm completely alone. I'm alone. I'm so alone. I'm so alone."
Yeah,
he's just like like just his mind working, like going from calm, like to overthinking, and
to the point of where it's distressed him.
Exactly. And like
he does that a lot in this.
As someone that has neuroses and has had neuroses, I really did empathize with that. Not like being alone, but like the way that the mind can go from being calm and positive to being, just completely
just flipping it the other side,
completely flipping the other way. I thought it was really, really funny. What
was your favorite scene then?
If I said corn on the cob.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
So this is the scene where Richard Dreyfuss's wife Faye invites Bob to stay for dinner.
Yeah,
and obviously Dreyfus is just sitting there. They're all sitting around this big table eating, and Murray, clearly not welcomed by Dr. Marvin, is just sitting there watching Bill Murray, and Bill Murray is just he's got a plate full of mashed potatoes and fried chicken and salad, and he's eating this corn on the cob. But he's making the most like sexual eating noises.
It's very inappropriate. He's like children at the table.
It's really inappropriate. He's really munching on it, and he's like, like it's like he's like high. It's like when you smoke so much weed that food is just incredible, like a sexual experience.
Like, is this hand chucked?
He's like, is this hand chucked? And like Richard Dreyfuss is like, "Will you shut the hell up?"
It just goes on for ages, doesn't it? To the point
it's going on for
he
ages.
Can't handle it anymore.
And then in that same scene, Dreyfus goes in the kitchen, and I can't remember why, but he starts laughing at something, but he's got a mouthful of food, starts to choke, that classic trope. But then Bill Murray has to do CPR on him, and he gets him on a couch, and Bill Murray's just literally jumping on Richard Dreyfuss's back. Yeah.
And it's funny because they're like tracking his like Bill Murray's crazy
with the camera.
As he's like going up and down,
and
he's like, breathe,
breathe. Yeah. Another Heimlich maneuver scene in a Bill Murray movie, like along the lines of Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's true.
When he saves his own brother.
He does.
From choking, the mayor.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. God damn it. But yeah, it's that scene, and Dreyfus is choking, he spits out whatever, the piece of chicken or whatever it is, and Bill Murray for about another 10 seconds just keeps jumping on his back, and he's like, get off,
get him off of me.
It's a visual joke. It doesn't always work on a podcast, but if you watch it, you will laugh.
You will like it.
Like,
you will
there's,
laugh.
Do you think that Bob Wiley, here played by Bill Murray, is actually a threat?
I think he is, because he does a lot of wry smiling. Like he knows what he's doing. Like you think towards the end, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I hate him. Like I am with Richard Dreyfuss in this. I hate him. Like he's so annoying.
Don't hold back.
He's so annoying. But you could see why, and you can see why he's lovable. Why, in fact, it goes to one of the lines, right? So it says, so this is a little bit of like dialogue. So the doctor says, "You understand, don't you? There's no other solution. You won't go away." And he says, "I will." And he says, "No, you won't. You're just saying you will. But then after I don't kill you, you'll show up again." and you'll do something else to make everyone in my life think that you are wonderful and I'm a schmuck. But I'm not a schmuck, Bob. I'm not going to let you breeze into town and take my family away from me just because you're crazy enough to be fun. And it's true. It's like everyone thinks he's like the best guy in the world.
But actually, he's a fucking nightmare.
Actually, he's a nutcase.
Yeah, that's what he says.
The point of the film, isn't it? I suppose
he's got the bomb. He's got that in that exact scene. He's got the bomb around his neck that you just mentioned, and he's like, "What are we doing?" And Dr. Marvin's like, "Death therapy, Bob. It's a guaranteed cure."
Yeah. I do love that scene as well, where he's like, he's the doctor. He's so exasperated, and he's trying to explain to his family. He's like, he won't go away, and they're like, he's gone, and he's like, he's not gone. That's the point. And he opens the door again, and he's just standing there.
Yeah,
he's like, is this some new sort of therapy?
That I remember laughing like crazy when I was a kid at that scene. I remember that was really funny. I also talking about like how you're right. I think Murray knows exactly what he's doing, and the part where I think I hated him and I was like, this guy is really fucked up and this could be a horror movie, is like Slither, if you've ever seen that. Is the scene when he keeps calling the phone exchange, like the operator in the building that Dr. Marvin works in, and getting hold of this woman called Betty, and she's like, he's on vacation, you can't get his number, blah, 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 blah. So he decides to go to the building and knocks on the door of the operator room and pretends to be a detective who is investigating the quote-unquote suicide of Bob Wiley 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. That guy that kept phoning you up, he actually committed suicide 15 minutes ago.
He committed suicide 15 minutes ago, and we're going to need the address.
Like, oh, no.
we're going to need the address of Dr. Leo Marvin because I have some questions for him. Like, how
it's so infuriating,
dark.
isn't it?
It's so really dark. So dark.
Do you know what it reminded me of? You know, the whole like opening scene of this film, where he's getting like ready in his apartment and he's talking to his goldfish, and he's like, he says, "I've got to go to work," but
Gil,
and then Gil, and he's walking out of his apartment down the corridor. Do you know what that really reminded me of the Joker, the film?
Ooh,
Phoenix Joker.
Yeah.
Like it just felt like that kind of character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. They should have put hey,
yeah, they should have done. Yeah,
that would have been brilliant. But also
it
terrifying.
Reminded me of that. Yeah, also terrifying.
No, you're right. No, you're right. I also liked about that scene, by the way, when he pretends to be the detective, that the doctor then gets a phone call in the middle of the night from the operator, and she's like, just to let you know, he wakes up, claps, and the light comes on. He's got one of those 80s clappers, and the light comes on.
The clapper lights. Yeah.
And he's like, hello. She's like, oh, Betty. He's like, oh, what is it now? It's not Bob again. She went, no, he died. He committed suicide. He's like, oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks for the call, Betty. Good night. Puts the phone down, and the wife wakes up and is like, what is it, honey? He's like, oh, just a patient that committed suicide. Anyway, I'm not going to let that spoil our vacation. Clap. The lights go off, and he goes back to sleep.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
I really like that. Sorry, you can say something.
You know what I'm going to ask you?
Go on.
Do you want some trivia?
Phil's trivia section. No one can trivia better like Phil.
Better like Phil.
I don't even know what that means.
I still need to do it.
I'm just riffing, man. Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
So, some trivia from my favorite IMDb trivia section. In interviews, Dreyfuss has reiterated what he said. So this is a bit of a long one, but it's interesting. So he said what he said of his experience of working with Bill Murray. He further alleged in 2019 that at one point during the production, Murray screamed at him while intoxicated, telling him, "Everyone hates you. You are tolerated." And then threw an ashtray at him. Like a glass heavy ashtray, which missed him by a couple of feet. Murray, on the other hand, stated that when he guest appeared on the Howard Stern show in 2014, I really try to make the other actor look good wherever I can. I try to make the other person look good. In this particular film, annoying Dreyfuss, which I kind of got to enjoy, I've got to confess. But I didn't try to annoy him off screen. And apparently, the producer, Laura Ziskin, recalled having a disagreement with Bill Murray, which led him to toss her in the lake. Ziskin confirmed it in 2003. Bill Bill also threatened to throw me across the parking lot and then broke my sunglasses and threw them across the parking lot.
Oh, wow.
I was furious and outraged at the time, but having produced a dozen movies, I can safely say it is not common behavior.
Wow. Not uncommon behavior.
Yeah. So, like,
wow.
You know, so obviously there's no love lost there between Dreyfus and Bill Murray. They don't think they like each other very much, but I think they respect each other. I've read other interviews where they're like, yeah, he's, you know, Dreyfus is like, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
I didn't get along with him.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of scenes in there where I think you can tell that there's a resentment there. And Dreyfus is a accomplished actor, an actor.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for him to be in this kind of movie is interesting. I think that he's probably is quite close somewhere to his character, and I think Bill Murray is quite close somewhere to his character. So I think it's, you know, I think it's par for the course. But I do also imagine, I was also watching it, imagining them kind of getting drunk together and having smoke breaks in between, and you know, talking about the craft and that kind of thing. But you know, there's no excuse for that kind of behavior. But I do think that Murray was probably going through something at this point in his career.
Oh yeah.
Coming hot off the back of, you know, his 80s success,
huge,
and then coming into the 90s and probably, you know, that age in his life and, you know, relationships and that kind of thing. And I think he possibly picked this role, like he does all his roles, based on where he's at in his life at that exact moment. So then maybe there's more of a synergy there than we'll ever know.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all written down words that we're led to believe, isn't it? Some interesting. So Robin Williams was the first choice for the role of Bob Wiley.
Of course.
As he had been nominated for an Oscar for his performance in screenwriter Tom Schulman's Dead Poets Society in 1989. Also distributed by Touchstone, which this was.
Yep.
So yeah, he couldn't do it, basically. He was too busy. So that was interesting. And then the other one was that Steve Martin was also considered for that role as well.
Yeah.
As Bob Wiley. Well, in fact, he was considered for both roles, either the Doctor or Bob. And you could see that. You could have seen either, which was amazing.
What they should have done is have Steve Martin play both.
And reveal it at the end that he's like the same person.
Yeah, he's actually schizophrenic.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do you know what? I think that might be a better idea than the shrink going crazy at the end and the crazy guy becoming more quote unquote normal by the end.
Yeah, maybe.
Turns out Bob was a figment of his imagination, and that's why the family were putting up with him all along, because they loved their father.
Let's do What About Bob 2? We'll get it funded. Get a Kickstarter going.
What about Bob 2?
Yeah. What else? So, this is a good one. So, director Frank Oz wanted Patrick Stewart to play Dr. Leo Marvin.
Bloody hell.
I couldn't see that myself.
I'm writing a script, and I'm kind of a James Bond type character. And I look up in my rearview mirror, and all of their clothes fall off, and I've seen everything. I think that he should have been in more comedies. I think in his life, he's really good in American Dad. Like he does one of the recurring voices in American Dad.
It's funny.
I think he should be in more comedies.
He should.
I've seen him on stage, and he was funny.
Yeah. Did you know Julie Haggerty, who plays the mother, is only 10 years older than Catherine Erb, who played her daughter?
No.
Yeah, 10 years. That was it.
No.
Yeah.
She looks like about 40 in this.
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
Wow.
Probably quite insulting to Julie Haggerty. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. So for the scene in which Bob accidentally blows the house up, spoiler alert at the end, producers used a 3/4 sized model replica of the actual house that they detonated on a nearby lot.
3/4. At that point, you're just like, let's just build the whole fucking house.
Yeah, I mean, 3/4 is still a shit ton of work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's build a house, but build it just.
Let's build a house for children rather than for adults.
Got the budget for pieces of wood that long, so let's go for 3/4 like instead.
Yeah,
and then blow it up. That's why it looks so realistic, I guess.
It does look realistic, though. I will say that.
Yeah, it does look very good, but.
It's brilliant to see that scene, like you said, with Murray walking out the house with a birthday cake, and you know exactly where the bombs are.
What's going to happen?
Yeah. Hey, Bob, where did you leave those bags I had around your neck? He's like, Oh, I left them in the house. They turn around, the house fucking blows to smithereens and blows all the candles on the birthday cake out as well.
Yeah. Brilliant. And then what else have I got? Last bit of trivia. The trailer. Oh no, I've got 2 bits of trivia. The trailer features shots and footage that don't appear in the final finished film. So there's a scene in this where
he murders the entire family.
No, I watched it to compare. And you know when he's dropped Bob off at the insane asylum, and then he gets picked up by the police on the way back, and he gets a flat tire, the doctor.
Yes.
Before his birthday party.
Yep.
So there's a scene in the trailer where he's going apeshit at the car and like smacking it with a golf club. He's like going crazy.
Really?
Yeah. The car. Yeah. That's in the trailer, but it's not in the film. Which I thought was pretty funny.
He's gone full Tiger Woods.
He did go full Tiger Woods. And then finally, this was the highest grossing live action film released by Disney in 1991.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, highest grossing in 91.
What did that come up against then? Was it Beauty and the Beast, 91?
Trying to think, 91. It was like Little Mermaid around then. I don't know.
89.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, and that's my trivia, Miles.
It was Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, right.
Beauty and the Beast.
Me and you, isn't it? Beauty and the Beast.
Which one am I?
I'm the Beast.
You're definitely the Beauty, man. You're better looking than me. You're just hairier than me.
That's why I'm the Beast. I'm bigger and hairier than you.
Can't it be the Beast and the even beastlier Beast? That's what it should be called. Beast and the Beastlier Beast. Beast and the Beastlier Beast. Beast and the Beastlier Beast. That should be the name of our new podcast. What do you think?
Beast and
Tell
the
us
Beastly Beast.
What you think, listeners, if you're out there. Beast and the Beastly Beast podcast coming to you live.
Oh, what about Bob?
So what about Bob? Enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun watching it, to be honest.
I did. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was glad to see it again. Yeah. I liked it. Everyone should go and watch it.
Tell us what you think, listeners, and we're going to be taking some recommendations from you for the next Video Store Corner section. So if there's any movies out there you think, let's say 80s, 90s, that we may have missed, that we should be watching, let us know. And I've been asked a lot about this movie by a lot of people. The Rock, Nicolas Cage, and of course, His Royal Highness, Sean Connery. We are going to be doing a special this year on the 25th anniversary of The Rock, which is one of my favorite and Phil's favorite movies of all time.
It is.
So we are going to be doing that one. So please, keep recommendations coming, and we will get around to you. Join us on the next Movie Mouth podcast, which will be another slice of movie and TV related podcast fun. Before then, please follow our Facebook and Instagram accounts at Movie Mouth Podcast and hit subscribe. And please, for the love of Bob, give us a nice 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. It takes 2 seconds, and we would really appreciate it. Phil, there's just one last thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Later, barf, breath, puke, mouth.
Oh, damn it. I was going to say exactly the same thing. I hate you. Look, I've got it written down there and everything.
I can't see it, but I believe you, Phil. It's fine.
I hate you. You stole my ending.
And that's why I'm Bob Wiley, and that's why you're Dr. Leo Marvin.
Oh, go fuck yourself, Bob.
I'm sailing.